I have beef with Darwin because there was no way when he wrote the original theory of evolution, this is what he had in mind. I just watched a fish with glowing red eyes hop up onto land. Has evolution gone too far? Scientists say yes. Welcome to Everything is Crab. This is a roguelike game based off the idea of carcinization, where crabs are the ultimate life form, and everything evolving will eventually become a crab or come from a crab. And I can't help but notice that we are evolving with antlers, fur, and a tail. Which, I don't know what kind of crabs you've been eating, but mine don't have that. Those might be some of the ones they get up in Baltimore, up in the, was it National Harbor? Those crabs will glow in the dark. The game starts off right here. This is you. You're in the middle of the field. You roll around. You beat up enemies. As you fight enemies, you get food, right? We're gonna sit over here. We're gonna eat the food. Right, we get evolution points. See how the little meter is going up at the bottom? You get enough evolution points, you get to evolve. Let's find some more food. I'll show you. This is where the roguelike elements of the game take place. You get to evolve and choose your own evolution path. Now, like most evolution paths, sometimes, you know, you're a little bit better fitted for the environment than other times. Being more fitted for like a desert environment is not going to necessarily help you in the tundra. The upgrades can help you in a variety of ways. How much food you consume, how fast you can regenerate your health, and how much damage you can do. Damage is divided into two parts. There's ability and then physical. Now, there are some things that don't necessarily make sense when you evolve. Like, ability is tied to how hard you can bite, which I don't understand why smarter people bite harder. That seems more like a physical trait. So cortex right here makes us smarter. We'll see when we evolve that our brain gets a little bit bigger. And so now our little guy has a bigger brain. One of the cool things this game does is as you select more evolutionary traits, you do get to see your little guy evolve. But sometimes the evolution goes a little too far. Look at my little guy. Do you see him? Do you see what like a little freak he is? He's got little squid tentacles. He's got a snail. He'll bite you. He's God's little mistake. I feel like the worst evolutionary trait you can have is to evolve to look more like food. Like, there's no world where that's like a positive thing, right? It's like the opposite of like the coral snakes. So as far as the strategy goes, you can like go all in on something that you really, really want to be physical. It doesn't necessarily come up with like new things to stack on top. Like, you don't necessarily get like a shell and tentacles and a beak and all of that. You just get more of the same, which is a way to say you just get like larger and larger and larger and larger. Basically, what's going on right now is we're like the dude that goes to the gym and uses PEDs, but has a job at a call center. That's basically our life right now. And it leads to some funny results. Who is that bodybuilder that like took all those steroids? It was like Rich Piana, I think. And he was like, no. Steroids don't negatively impact your heart in any way. I'm totally fine. They don't do any kind of long-term heart damage. He's no longer with us. He had a massive heart attack and passed away. So I'm not saying he was wrong. I'm just saying that that's something someone should look into. So how do waves work in this game? How do I actually beat it? When you see the little bar at the top with the clock next to it, there's things that are on timers. It's a day and night timer as well. And it's real time that passes in between each boss fight. Now, there is a good mix of bosses at the end of each wave specified by each dot in the bar. And bosses do generally have the same sort of attack pattern. So it's really important for you to pay attention to how they attack so you can, know how to fight them later. How does he poison me when he punches me so hard I got poisoned? What? How does that even work? I like how this game plays into things that occur in nature anyway, like day and night cycles make some animals more aggressive or just more like prevalent. I just watched that frog slam his head into the tortoiseshell as hard as he could and gave himself CTE. What a king. However, these day and night cycles can unfortunately end up tying into like boss fights where, great, now you have to fight this water demon in the dark. Whichever one of you devs thought it was a good idea to do the water snake boss fight at night, I hope it's your birthday and nobody calls you, nobody texts you, nobody remembers. So a couple pro tips. The food comes from either trees or prey animals. It's important when you're eating food from prey animals that you keep in mind, don't actually have to be the one that gets the prey. You just have to be the one that eats it. You know what? That meat looks poisoned. You can have it. Also, you know how like lions typically won't go after like other lions for food? That doesn't necessarily apply here. Remember, to any of you would-be cannibals, you don't have to be the one to end them, you just got to be the one to eat them. Is a certain level of thinking that is required, where it's like, okay, obviously don't jump into like a 1v5, but there is a certain point where you can just turn your brain off and just like go for it, right? Remember kids, the idea of brain cells is capitalist propaganda to stop you from getting better clips on TikTok. As a side part to like normal runs, there are things called challenges. These are challenges that have like things to do with like weather or enemies or like mutagens, and there's stuff that like you can't use these certain traits and whatnot. Ignore me while I run from this, but hopefully it demonstrates that like this is the desert challenge where it's in a desert, so you really do need to adapt to high climate environments in order to survive. This forces you to think about the game a little bit differently as you prioritize different things, right? So in this environment, heat resistance, super important. Cold resistance, not very important at all. To showcase why heat resistance is important, we can see our guy, he's heating up too much and now he's taking damage in the top left bar. Boom, tick of health, tick of health, tick of health. You're constantly losing health, so you need to prioritize those evolutionary traits. So what I not like about this game, one of the complaints I do have is as you go around eating food, your little menu screen will pop up to give you more evolutionary traits, but it doesn't tie to like points of peace, right? So this thing can pop up in the middle of boss fights. Additionally, I think I'm a kind of a picky eater when it comes to roguelike games. I want some games that have a core bit where these things don't change, that way I can build off of it. But I do want a good mix, but I don't want too much of a mix that I don't know what I'm doing. And I want options, but I don't want the same options. This game, it was repetitive after a while where it's like, okay, cool, you kind of stay in this little area and you don't really leave. Because like as you try to traverse terrain, you gotta select certain evolutionary traits, but why am I selecting these evolutionary traits? Because like, well, I could have more health instead, and you know, it felt like I was doing the same thing over and over and over again, which for a roguelike game is kind of bad. While we're on the subject of things that I didn't necessarily like, there's a little crosshair thing that you have to aim with, and I get why you would have to aim your punches, but you can upgrade your attacks to things like biting. The bite works the same way, and I don't necessarily understand why you have to aim a bite, because you can like in theory bite behind you, which doesn't make a lot of sense. So I know I just said a bunch of negative things about it, but like, did I enjoy the game? Oh yeah, actually. It was really enjoyable. The colors are very bright. The graphics seem pretty decent for, you know, the price point. And as far as roguelike games go, it was very easy to understand and very easy to like navigate. Well, there are some times in roguelike games where there's too many options that you don't know exactly how they all tie into each other. There can be some confusion. Speed, every 10 seconds gain progress equal to 5x your prey affinity score. The hell does that mean? But fortunately, everything is kind of like set on the screen. Any questions you have can be answered on the screen itself. Now, I am always going to be more critical of games that cost more money, so I'm expecting a lot more from like an $80 game than I am from like a $10 game. And for $10, this feels about right. You know, this isn't going to be like the best roguelike game you've ever played, but for $10, it is a cool second monitor, turn your brain off, run around, eat some dudes kind of game. And I, you know, suggest you check it out. If you're interested in actual gameplay of the game, I do have a VOD channel linked down below that you can go check it out. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. And as always, GG, go next.